Hi, what's up guys and gals? It's Cherry and time for a Rauta rant, or opinion if you want to call it that. Now, what's in common with bands and brands and companies and products alike? Well, one could say money, but even more than money, one thing is more common with all of these, and that is image. Image then again is built of many different things. One could say every artist, every band, every corporation, every product and so forth is sort of a brand. Think of Apple, think of Metallica, think of Darkthrone. They're all sort of brands which are made of all these different elements, be it lyrics, be it visuals, that is including but not limited to band photos, social media presence, whatever the music is, obviously, and basically all the interviews and stuff like that. And all these different things now create this sort of a brand. Now, this brand discussion is totally different topic, which I will later on address. There's a video in the making, so to speak, about it. But this time I'm gonna talk to you about censorship. And this was actually brought to my attention with the latest Shining thing, which I already featured a couple of weeks ago with my another opinion video when Shining was basically asking for money. Now, that debate belongs to that particular video and so forth, but this topic kind of resurfaced when it was brought to my attention that because of this band, here in case, Shining, actually made this social media post about the events. And later on, obviously, a lot of people started to comment there. I was told that, for example, my video was also presented to that discussion. And, well, the band administrator or whatever decided to just remove the not wanted comments, including the video link, it seems. Now, I don't mind if my video link was not was removed because basically I didn't want to attack the band as such. I didn't want to attack the fans. I was just merely wanting to talk about how ridiculous begging for money can be. And anyway, people saw it as a kind of a negative way, which I totally understand given my stance about it. But the thing is, when we're like censoring comments, we're really in essence brandishing the brand. That is, we're trying to remove the nasty elements. Put it like this. You have an album cover and you have some dirt on it. Then you take a little bit of some moist clothing maybe and you start cleaning it. Maybe you have this kind of metal plaque on your wall. Maybe it's a sign of your company or whatever. You see a little bit rusty dots. You either start to paint them and cover them or just to remove them in other ways. Maybe you remove and replace the whole sign in the first place. Now, that is exactly what bands are doing when they're censoring sort of negative commentating, or not necessarily even negative, but stuff which is not exactly supporting their view of the message, their truth. Now, obviously, every band, every brand, every corporation is free to do what they like in terms of, rules and stuff like that, and law, obviously, with their social media page and homepage and all that stuff. But given that bands sometimes rely what could be called censorship, becomes kind of a funny thing when we're talking about extreme metal. Now, it's one thing, say, pop stars such as Rihanna doing this kind of removal of negative elements and giving all that sunshine and whatnot. But when we're talking about extreme metal bands, which are there to just, celebrate death, war, violence, nasty shit in any way, and they're like feeling kind of like butthurt about certain comments and people questioning their choices and even their own voiced opinion, it becomes kind of a tricky thing because suddenly you kind of realize it's not so extreme in the first place. And it's not always about money, it's just, brandishing the sign. Now, Shining is not obviously the only thing. It was just mentioned here because it's a recent event. Now, a couple of years ago, I made actually a couple of interviews which also got later on censored by the bands themselves. There was a death metal band and there was a black metal band. They replied whatever I was asking, and politely, I mean, there was no problem with the interviews as such. But later on, they started to regret some of their opinions and contacted me like, hey, could you just remove that question and that answer and so forth. While I totally respect all that, I mean, why not? It's kind of a slippery slope when you start afterwards. I mean, not before publishing anyway, but afterwards you start kind of removing some of your comments or changing the narrative, so to speak. It becomes a whole different deal. Now that is the beauty with printed word, be it magazine, or just a fanzine. Whatever you say, whatever you decide to go with the interview, it's right there printed and you really can't remove it. On the internet, then again, like websites, blogs, stuff like that, you can really get into changing the stuff, rewriting what was said, and suddenly, boom, your brandishing maybe worked. Or maybe the chief journalist just decided to go piss yourself, we're not gonna change the word, and then becomes this kind of a feud between the band and the media or whatever. Obviously, the same thing can be said about videos. First of all, I have been asked to remove certain interviews by a band, and I said politely, no. Now the thing is, while I totally respect the artist, it's kind of a given that as an artist, when you agree to do an interview, you obviously agree that to be published and you are supposed to stand with what you say. I'm not saying you cannot, change your opinions. Obviously, it's, in my opinion, a sign of a healthy mind that you can actually change what you have said, what you have thought in previous times. I mean, you could say certain things at a certain age, and maybe 10 years later you really don't feel the same, and obviously you can just say that, hey, I don't think that way anymore. My mind has gone to a different place. Maybe the mind has evolved. Maybe it has progressed. Maybe certain things in personal life has changed these situations, and such opinions are about to change. I mean, it's a healthy thing for normal people. You might like one thing at a certain time, later on not so much. Think about like couples, relationships. One time you're totally in love with this boy or girl. 5 years later, you decide to go with split. I mean, maybe you just have a feud every time, every day, you're arguing, you don't really like the person anymore. Your emotions have changed or shifted. And as such, the result is you don't like this person. It's totally okay to say, hey, I don't love you anymore, go fuck yourself. Now, that is one thing. But censoring and claiming like, hey, that didn't even happen in the first place, that is very lame, especially when we're having this context of being extreme metal. And I don't know, this is kind of a tricky thing because bands that try to rewrite this narrative kind of get annoyed. I mean, everybody nowadays, everybody meaning most people, know to take screen captures. Like, for example, if you get into an argument with, say, some band or some individual artist for that matter, he says one thing, you say the other, blah blah blah, things get just deleted because whatever reasons, the conversation went into the wrong direction, and suddenly these get deleted so that nobody else can see that you were actually wrong or you just behaved in a wrong, stupid ways. Deleting, nice way to get rid of that narrative and pretend anything ever happened. But the thing is, with screen captures and all that, I mean, that's just one way of doing things. You really can't escape the past. For example, if I say dumb things on a video and then later on I remove that video, somebody could have already downloaded what I say. And of course I am supposed to just be okay with it. I mean, like I said, I can change an opinion. Maybe today I have this feeling that all religions are bullshit. Maybe in 10 years I don't feel the same. But will I just want to rewrite the narrative? Not so much. I don't believe in censorship. I think it's bad, even if it's made by the individual by themselves or by so-called Big Brothers. That is, those in power, governing what can be said and what cannot be said. Now, censoring is always a sign, in my opinion, that something is wrong. It's a sign of weakness in so many ways because it's just like a smoke screen. It's barely nothing else. Obviously, in time, you can actually win battles with just, dodging the bullet and pretending nothing never happened. But denying the truth and saying that it never was there is always a stupid choice. And in my opinion, I don't think it works very well. And I don't know why these bands actually think that it actually works like that. So if you don't want to get commended in a negative way, don't post stupid shit. It's really that simple. Or in case you don't want to get any kind of interaction or feedback, don't let them. Have your social medias in such a way that you really cannot comment anything like that. Don't do interviews if you're afraid that you can't just control your mouth. I mean, if you speak before you think versus think before speak, that is kind of bound to happen. I should know because I actually do, for example, these videos in a very, very spontaneous ways. Sometimes I just say what I think. Do I regret it afterwards? Not usually anyway, because what good would the regret do? If I make a mistake, I at least should have the balls to say, alright, I screwed it. I made a mistake. Now amendments will be done. Or maybe they won't be done, but at least I have the guts to say, hey, I made a mistake. I was wrong. I said some stupid shit and now I have to live with that. It's not that hard really. So if you have a band, if you're an artist, try to have enough backbone to stand up what you do. If you make bad music, that is, if you make good music in your own opinion, but others don't really agree and they call your music shit, try to live with it. Either develop a thicker skin or get the hell out of the kitchen. Like the saying goes, if you can't stand the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen anyway. So, this is my take on censorship. What do you think about it? Do you think censorship is good? If you think it's good, give a downvote this video because this is anti-censorship. If you think censorship is bad, give a thumb up. And if you don't care, then you don't care. Feel free to comment or ask me a question. I will get back to you. Thank you for your time. Take care and have a good weekend.